The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome to AmeriCollect's webinar on reconciliations. My name is Nick McLaughlin, and I'm a member of the sales and marketing team here at AmeriCollect. I get to be your administrator for today's webinar. If you have a question for us at some point throughout the webinar, type it in the question box, and we'll get back to you right after the webinar is finished. Now on to our presenter. Kenlin Gretz is the owner, president, and CEO of AmeriCollect and AmeriEBO, the bad debt and early out agencies that collect more by treating patients ridiculously nice. Kenlin, take it away.
Thanks, Nick, and happy middle of August to everybody. We're glad you joined us on this reconciliation webinar. And today we're going to learn about different types of reconciliations which are used to increase collections, to stay compliant, and to increase customer satisfaction. You know, that does sound like an exciting topic, but I don't know, it's kind of boring. Reconciliations. I can remember the first time I was involved in a reconciliation many, many years ago. Either you're somebody who loves doing reconciliations or you're somebody who just hates it. I personally don't like doing the reconciliations. What I love doing is finding the root cause that caused the problem. So we're going to move on and talk about reconciliations and try to make it a little bit fun and exciting so that it's not a yawner for you, not a yawner. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, but really reconciliation is about making sure that we have the right accounts that you think we have and the right balances. And so reconciliation is really a simple concept when you explain it to somebody, but it's even more than that because it involves that root cause analysis to stop it from happening again. But when I think about reconciliations, it reminds me when I was in high school, I've got 5 older brothers, and my older brother, Kurt, when he was 20 years old, I think he was 20 or 21, he started his own construction business, remodeling and building houses. And so I was I am 7 years younger than him. And so during the high school years, I built houses and remodeled in the summer and after school. And one of the things he used to always say to me, start straight, stay straight. And in the home building, what that means is making sure that you have a level, making sure that the 2x4s are straight. He'd walk around and check my work. And, you know, and the reason you want to start straight and stay straight is because by the time you put the windows in, the doors in, and then you put the trim on, if you're at all crooked or if the walls aren't, not level, they're leaning in or out, it's going to cause doors to automatically close. You'll end up with miters like this where there's gaps and they're open, and it causes things to have issues downstream that, when you're working with 2x4s, you're like, oh, well, it can be off a little bit. But I learned that from him, and I still think of my brother Curtis. He taught me a lot of lessons. He used to always holler at me, maybe holler at me, but he would say, always time enough to do it over, but never time enough to do it right the first time. Kind of a business lesson. And funny, I just added that to an email to a coworker of mine where we were reviewing a process that should have been done right the first time. So what will a recon get me? And so why is it important to our clients to make sure that we're doing recons? So what are the benefits? Better scores, customer satisfaction. Those of you that know about HCAHPS scores and customer satisfaction surveys, Press Ganey surveys, any of those things, what do I mean by that? If we make an outbound phone call to a consumer and the balance is incorrect because maybe you do have a payment on your system but didn't tell us about it, that's going to drive your scores down. So that we're calling the right people with the right balances. That's one part of what a recon is going to get you, better customer satisfaction. But also, this is assuming that you listed all of the accounts. What happens to us every once in a while is a client might have a manual process where they have to drag a data file to an SFTP and it's going to get sent to us. Well, maybe a human forgot about sending a batch of accounts. There might be 5,000 accounts that you thought you sent to us, but we never really got. So more money is a part of the reason why, so that we're actually collecting the accounts that you think that you sent us or that we didn't bust the process and forget to load some accounts. So that can go both ways. It's either my fault or our fault or our client's fault. We don't know, but we want to find out about this sooner than later. So we've got better customer satisfaction scores, more money, okay, so 2 win-wins, easy there. A third one is increased productivity. I can tell you, I was just having lunch with a collector, and I was telling her about the webinar that I'm giving today, and she said, oh, I hate making phone calls, and then the patient says that they paid it directly to the client. And those people are really crabby on the phone. And you know what they do? They hang up the phone with us. We tell them, of course, oh, we'll check into this and make sure, you know, the amount and what date you might have paid it, and we'll send it off to our customer service staff, and then our customer service staff calls your customer service staff, and then your staff. But in the meantime, that patient hangs up the phone, and they're not happy, and they're making phone calls to your staff, and they're either sending you a bad letter, or so ultimately increased productivity for your staff. Fewer people are going to be making those calls saying, how come you didn't tell the collection agency about that money I paid, or something like that. So we've got increased productivity, better customer satisfaction, more money, and compliance. I think that this, for us as a collection agency, compliance and risk is so we're regulated by the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, the FDCPA. It's what's called a strict liability statute. So let's say that you forget to report a $10 payment to us. We're making outbound phone calls on a $100 balance, and it really should be $90. The FDCPA says it's a strict liability statute, meaning that if you violate any portion of it, how small or not, you have found to have violated that. And it's not about intentions. So it's, oh, well, the client intended to tell us about this payment or this adjustment or something like that. It doesn't matter about the intentions. And there are similar laws in states that some of our clients get named in these lawsuits. We just had one recently where they named us and they named the client under the state lawsuit, or they joined them together into the federal lawsuit. So you're in federal court here. This isn't a small claims deal. You're in federal court being sued under the FDCPA. We're getting sued, and they'll join state laws with it, and that gives them some leverage, because now they're having one attorney sue 2 different creditors. So compliance, and you might be saying, yeah, off by $10. Here's an example that I pulled up just recently. The only thing you need to really read it is, so Angela Sue Richards Walker sued Fair Collections Outsourcing. Ultimately, the only thing you need to read here is, to the plaintiff, a person with no income, a $1 discrepancy is material. Yes, folks, we get sued over those kinds of things. Remember what I talked to you about the FDCPA. It's a strict liability statute, meaning it doesn't matter if it's off by $1. If it's off by $1, it's as much as if it was off by $10,000. And they file suits. And you might say, well, a judge is going to simply say, yeah, well, a judge might simply say it's only $1, but you probably spent $4 grand defending yourself to try to get the judge, maybe $4 grand, maybe 10 grand. And here's another case, same scenario. This Karen Teresa Ann said, and these are public records, so I'm sharing nothing with you that you couldn't find on your own. Progressive, so this is the kind of nasty industry that we're in. I mean, these attorneys that represent these consumers are a small percentage. Most of the consumers that we deal with are great people. But of course, there are these people out here that they feel that they need to, this one, they were off by $1.82, and here's ours, Hockenberry versus Americollect. This is just a wonderful, this is a situation not that the creditor forgot to tell us about a payment. This consumer had 11 accounts in our office for $637.24. The consumer, these are all inbound phone calls, by the way. We call it in our industry call baiting. The consumer is trained to call and ask specific questions. Can you give me the balance on each of these? Well, they were off by $2.91. Sierra, one of my coworkers here, stated that there were 11 accounts, but when she went through them one by one with the consumer, she saw there were actually 2 accounts for $2.91. She missed one, and they sued us because the 2 amounts didn't add up. Yeah. Welcome to my world. You know, I love collections. I love trying to change how collection agencies are viewed, but this part of the game I don't really like. So a little bit of compliance and risk in this situation here. The cost to defend this thing and take it to, and it's a strict liability suit. We said something on the phone call that was not true. We skipped a $2.91 because it was in there twice. She got confused. Man, inbound phone calls, call baiting happens all the time. So let's move on. So I'm telling you the benefits. The benefits: better customer satisfaction, more money, increased productivity for your staff so they're not being bothered by phone calls, and compliance and risk. So let me think about the types of, most people think of a recon, something that happens once a month. I think that recon, there are more opportunities than that. I'm going to talk a little bit about new business placements, a reconciliation there, payments and adjustments. When you send me pay directs and when you send me adjustments, and then at the end of the month when I send you remittances, I might send you an 835 file, and what do you do with that? Are they accurate in your system? And then when we cancel accounts back to you, do you do the right thing with those? And then we'll go and talk about the entire monthly inventory. So in my part of, if you're starting a reconciliation process and you haven't had one, what I would start with first is the new business placements. It's your biggest opportunity to make sure that all of the accounts that you think are listed are really listed. So let's start there. The data files, in my mind, should be header records with the number of accounts and the amount of accounts in that. I would say that maybe 50% of the data files that we get have trailer and header records that count up the amount of value in there and the number of records. And that way we can verify that we got the full, complete record. You know, we do get files once in a while that there is no trailer record, and that tells us that something went wrong with the process, that the file didn't generate completely. So that's the first step in my mind, is making sure that you have header and trailer records so our programmers can write things to say and look for those. AmeriCollect then processes that new placement file. These are the new accounts. If the trailer doesn't balance, we put the brakes on and then we contact your office saying there's something wrong with the data file. We also send a file of duplicate relistings. Well, why would you resend us accounts? You know, that same account. So we have a process to say, here's the file that you want us to list. What have we already listed? And then send you a generated file saying, these are duplicate relistings. Now, something may have caused that. Maybe you had to back it out of collections and rebill insurance, but maybe you failed to tell us that you backed it out of collections and now it's coming back over. So a good new business reconciliation process has that ability to say, I already got this file, that kind of a thing. We also have some clients that we manage the small balance do not list. So some organizations in their system can say, yes, this account should be written off for bad debt, but because it's under $10, instead of writing it off to bad debt, they cancel it a small balance adjustment. Some of our clients, we do that for them, our system, but our programmers will write a process to say, hey, what's the balance threshold that they want to list? Here, out of 1,000 accounts, there are 10 of them that are below $10. We send that file back to you, but we make sure that we balance. And then it's important for your office, when we're placing new businesses files, to then reconcile and make sure that those that get changed, instead of bad debt write-off, they get changed to small balance. So those are just 4 things that you can do in a new business recon. And the last thing that we do is send you an acknowledgement. This is an automated system. So just because we got the file, did we actually finalize it and post it in our system? So this is an acknowledgement that comes right from our Bloodhound software. You can see that it shows that there was $8,958, 16 accounts, and this is an automated email that goes right to you. It's real important, I think, for someone in your organization to make sure that they tie off. Here's the number that were listed, here's the duplicate listings, here's the small balance listings. That starts straight, stays straight. New business reconciliation will solve a lot of problems right there. It's that simple. When we send you the file of duplicate relistings, we need to make sure that they're investigated. Why did the account get relisted? We bump that new business placement file against our existing thing. That's a real important thing to understand. What caused that duplicate relisting? Was it a human error? Somebody accidentally bounced it out of collections and put it right back in the same day? Or were the balances different? So in that duplicate relisting process, we don't just ignore it. But what happens if you listed originally for $1,000 and then it comes back listed for $600? Well, what is there? Is there a payment that happened? Was there a decrease in charges? What happened? And so I think you'll find that a lot of your issues that you have will be solved when you start educating yourself on that duplicate relistings. We also send a small file of small balance exception report. That's really important that that gets updated in your system. When you do that full monthly, it's if we're doing that for you. So many of our clients, when we have a small balance exception report that we didn't list, we can build an automatic file that changes the collection agency code back to not written off for bad debt, but charged off to small balance adjustment or whatever that is. So those are cool things that we can do, automatically send you a file. You have a script that runs in the middle of the night, uploads that file and changes it. Real important. For new business placement, I think file management is really important. We find that many of our clients, they list, depending on their size, they list daily or they list weekly or monthly. And the majority of them list weekly. Some of them list daily. File management is really important. Decide how often you're going to be sending files. Is there human interaction? Is it an automatic process where a script picks up a file and then transfers it to our secure file transfer protocol, our SFTP? Decide if you're doing it daily or even weekly. If there are no accounts to be written off that day, are you going to be sending a blank file? And so we like to talk about all of those kinds of things to make sure that there are no processes that are broke. So let's imagine that we set it up that that you don't send blank accounts blank files when there are no accounts to be written off for that day. Well, we can write programming to say, hey, we didn't even get a blank file today. Something must have gone wrong. And so within one day, we can find processes that are broke. We have error handling on our side here saying, we are expecting this file, and it usually is here by 5 a.m. in the morning. If it's 7 a.m. and that file's not here, our internal customer service department and support department will get an automatic email saying something's wrong here. This client is supposed to have sent a file by 5 a.m. It's now 7 a.m. You may want to reach out to them. So really kind of a cool thing to do. File management solves a lot of those, whatever happened to my file that I sent you. And just deciding on that and helping us set up some error handling, making sure that the naming configuration of the file is important to, and eliminating that human element. Figuring out, so if there's a file that saves to a folder, it is real simple to develop a script to pick that file up at a specific time of the day and transfer to it. If you don't know how to do that, our IT can help you and teach you how to develop scripts and schedules. They're not that hard to do. We're very willing to help you out. And once you learn how to grab files that are saved to folders and then automatically SFTP them, boy, when you're on vacation for a couple of days, those files continue to get sent. And we have accurate balances every day, whether it's a new business placement file or whether it's a direct payment. So we're willing to help people out with that and show them a little bit how that works. Once you figure it out, it's sweet. You have that automatic file every day. I tell you, timing is everything. Timing is everything with recons. You can have a recon where you spend so much time looking at accounts that aren't valuable because, oh yeah, the balances don't match because, well, this one report ran at noon and the other report doesn't get run until 6 p.m. Well, a lot of things happen between noon and 6 p.m. So one of the things that we see is on the new business placement file, payments that are applied to an account on the day of the write-off. So what time is your payment processing finalized, and what time of the day does your system process accounts that need to be written off for bad debt? I'll give you an example. So let's say that there's a $1,000 balance, and the consumer has been sending you $5 a month. Of course, that's probably not meeting your minimum payment, right? And it's scheduled to be written off on the 30th of the month. That's when the process runs. They're written off the bad debt, and it qualifies because they didn't make a good enough payment. But let's say that on that very same day, a $5 payment is posted. Well, the timing of when these reports are run are really important. We had a client just recently that was happening to us. We were seeing that, boy, these accounts that are listed on day one, instantly the recon came up that said, if we're not balancing, we're off. And so it was a timing. So all it was that they pushed back the time that they sent the new business placement files to make sure that those balances matched. And boy, that solved a lot of problems that we were having with that particular client. We were sending letters, consumers were getting a letter, and they'd be saying, I just paid them $5. Well, they did, because it was a timing. So timing is everything. There you have it. The next recon I think that's important to tackle, and in my mind, you want to do them in these orders here. It's easy to do just a monthly recon, but the problem is that you won't solve a lot of the root causes. And so the root causes, in my mind, are the new business placement file and now payment and adjustment files. So I'll talk first about payments made directly to you. You know, we are the collection agency making the outbound phone calls at this time. So we know what money we get, right? You're no longer making outbound phone calls and sending letters on accounts that are bad debt. So the most important person to know about what the correct balance is the collection agency. It's important for us to tell you about the payments that we receive. Although it's nice to know, typically your staff isn't bringing up conversations about accounts that are already in bad debt. So when I say payment adjustments, what I'm speaking of here are the ones that you receive on an account after they have been sent to an agency. We really think that these files should be sent to an agency daily. I could go back to that compliance slide and show you that if our balance is off by the amount of money that you receive, some of our clients only send us payment adjustment files every 7 days. How hard is it for you to send that file daily to protect us for these silly lawsuits that we might be making because our balance isn't correct? That would be important to us. It would be important for customer service. You know, it's talking to the right people with the right balance. It's really what it's about. And so we're hoping that our clients really decide to tell us about payments and adjustment files daily. It should be an automated process every night, 7 days a week. You never know when someone's going to be posting payments to catch up on a Saturday, maybe a Sunday. And it also should send blank files so that we know, and we can set up some controls saying, hey, this process is broke. We didn't even get a blank file today. And there should be no human intervention. It shouldn't be a file that has to be, you know, emailed to us or uploaded through our web link, you know, where you can do the, we have something on our client website portal has an ability to you can drag and drop files there. But boy, no human intervention on this thing, especially if it's a 7-day-a-week thing. You really want to make sure that humans aren't involved with it. Not that humans are bad, it's just that sometimes we make mistakes. So the payment and adjustment codes. When I talk about codes, so many of the payment and adjustment files that we get, they tell us, is this a payment or is this an adjustment? We build those codes into our programming. I've got a sample one here that I'll pull up. I'll make this a little bit bigger. So here's just a sample. They give us a transaction code. They give us a description. And then they tell us, is it a payment or an adjustment? And then if it's an adjustment and it adjusts the balance down to 0, this is our AmeriCollect mapped cancel code. So this one's charity care. If the entire amount of the balance is now going to be 0, this tells us to cancel it on our system with a status code of 20, which is cancel charity care. And then we create a column of, is this a commissionable process? Well, if you told us to cancel an account charity care, we don't earn any commission. However, if it's a co-insurance payment, we do earn. So you'll see here, this mapping of the transaction codes is critical to getting accurate balances. It's critical to make sure that we don't take payments on accounts that we shouldn't be. It's critical to have great processes in place. There's another new information here is that we need to develop whether it's an insurance payment or a patient payment. So you'll see down here, there's I's in here. That's because it was paid by a state-funded program, Medicare, Medicaid, workers' comp, commercial insurance. These are payments. Why do we need to know whether it's an insurance payment or not? There's a new law that's going into effect that affects all creditors who report to the credit file, which like 99.9% of our clients want us to report to the credit file. It says that we have to put a special comment on the consumer's credit file that the payment came from insurance. And their hoping is that when that bank or lender looks at, yes, they have a collection account, but it was an issue with the insurance company paying timely. So that's why we need that insurance patient pay. So many of our clients, again, this is something that's new. It's supposed to be finalized September of 2017 is when we have to. So we're going to be reaching out to many of our clients to say, hey, you need to tell us, you know, we kind of know what your descriptions are, but we're going to want some confirmation saying, oh, you know what, this one is a payment. And this may seem really well, I don't know, confusing, simple to you, but if there is a positive amount in the data file that you send us, and it's an adjustment, does that decrease the balance of the consumer, or does it increase it? Now, we deal with many, many hospital systems, and like I said, it may seem like, well, we need to know that, whether or not an adjustment, does it bring the balance up or does it decrease it? And so it's just important for us to have that totally mapped. When we do our payment and adjustment file programming, sometimes we get a sample file that's got 2 or 3 records in. That's not enough for us to do a really good job of mapping and getting it right the first time. And we also, when we're programming, what we do is that if there's a code that shows up that we don't have in our directory, it automatically puts the brakes on and says, hey, this is weird, and I've got that here. The brakes are put on. So there's an error handling within our programming. So this helps us solve. So it's a little bit of a, but it's the mapping of those payment and adjustment codes, and that's really, really important. So I think that I just got a pop-up here from GoToMeeting that says that my end here to make sure that I think we're okay here. I think I just had a refresh. Sorry about that. GoToMeeting and internet connections are sometimes finicky, as you all know. So in that payment and adjustment file, what should you be sending to us? You know, and I'm going to go through the list. We take those payment files that you send us. We include some of our data, and we make an automated process. Either we're going to automatically, we don't manually post those payments. We convert them to a data file for us to upload in our system. Now, either we can add it to this automated process, or there has to be a manual review. And so I'll show you some of the things that we do. Let me do an Alt tab here. Ta-da! So here's the payment and adjustment file elements. So these are sort of what we would like from you. These are what we would like from you in the payment and adjustment file. Your unique account number for that particular data service, the guarantor, last name, first name, that transaction code that I talked about. What is it? Is it a patient payment for $100? And so what we'll do is we'll map that code 1100 to this directory here, and that'll tell us what we're going to do with that. The date of the transaction, what that does is it helps us validate whether or not we've already processed the file, so we don't accidentally process a file 2 times. The balance after the I got that highlighted yellow because that's really important for us to make sure that we can we know that our balance after the transaction is done is going to match yours. And the date listed for collection. Why is that so important? Because when you're dealing with the 500 or 200 records and you see that a bunch of these went to the manual review, when you put a filter on it and you look at this and you say, this is interesting, they all were listed on the same day. Well, if they were all listed on the same day, that tells me that there's probably a missing data file that we never got. So that's really important. Or you'll find that we don't have that account listed for collection. So an interesting way to reconcile. The blue is what we bring in. We bring in our AmeriCollect status. We bring in the AmeriCollect balance before what our current balance is. The balance after, we would apply this. And then if it is going to balance, does our $200 over here equal your $200? Yes, it does. Great. Then everything is hunky-dory. So we will automatically send this to a data file, upload it to our system, and we're good to go. And then we also include our last payment. So in this situation here, the payment that you're reporting to us was $50. So there was $50 paid directly to the provider. Your balance after the transaction is $175. Our balance is already $150. Well, the reason why it has to go to a manual review is because we happen to, so the consumer paid us $75 on July 29th. If we're remitting money to you monthly, you don't know about this yet. But he also paid $50 to you on August 4th. So this is where the human intervention comes in right away and says, let's have a manual review on this. And so it's a wonderful process. We can work out bugs, find root causes. So again, recons for new business placements, that decreases the errors. Recons on every single payment file that you send to us solves everything. You will have a decreased amount of necessary monthly recons because you're solving it at the front end. Pretty exciting stuff if you ask me. So one of the things that's super helpful, and of our major health systems and larger medical provider clients, I would say that probably 60% of our clients give us access to your system. It decreases our communication to your team for the manual review ones. We can see deeper what happened on the account and see into your system. So, and our staff, we probably have access to 30 or 40 different kinds of systems. So we have specialists that know how to get around your system. The other thing that I think is important to really understand and to have something set up with your collection agency is what I call refund rules and communications. So I think that's really important. I know I'm running over a little bit here, so I'll kind of move on a little bit more quickly. There's maybe about 7 minutes to 8 minutes left in the webinar. Sorry for going over a little bit. Timing is everything, as I said before. So when are all the payments finalized on your system on a daily basis? We see that many of our providers, that they process payments from all different sources, whether it's insurance companies, whether it's off of your web portal, whether it's point of service collections. Make sure that you know that all of the payments are finalized before you generate that report to us, so that we're reporting all payments finalized in a day. Another part of the recon that we see happen is we cancel accounts past the statute of limitations, deceased, bankrupt, second placements. We really, for many of our clients, what we do is we generate a report every either daily, weekly, monthly of all the accounts that are canceled, and we can build a process that you can upload those codes to your system to show that we no longer have the balance anymore because of those reasons. I'll tell you that that's a really time-saving place. Most of the recons where we have large discrepancies, we show a zero balance, and the client, it's because they haven't processed our cancel and return reports. If you have to do it manually, one of our clients, this is, their ER is not busy between 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. So they have somebody in their ER who's running, a front desk there that goes in and manually find people within your organization to process those reports. It'll help us with the recon to make sure that we have accurate balances, so you really know what balances are out there at collection. And then finally getting to the monthly full inventory. That recon is going to get smaller and smaller when you put into place those 3 things that I talked about. It's really important. So really there's 4 results. AmeriCollect has the account listed for collection, but it's not in the recon. Or it's in the recon, but it's not listed at AmeriCollect. And then a balance mismatch. We both believe it's listed here, but our balances don't match. And then you hope the largest one is that we are balanced, that everything is correct. And I'll show you a sample file of that. So again, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. In that file, we really like to see these purple data elements. The original amount listed, the date listed, the current balance, the date of the file, all of that. If you can, this is super helpful in identifying root cause. Send us the date of the last payment or the amount of the last payment, the date of the last payment, the date or the amount of the last adjustment, and the last. What this does is it helps us identify root causes. We'll see patterns here when we recognize that on this particular date, we weren't reported any of them. And so that root cause, and working through a recon, if you've ever had to do one, you know, it's really about finding trends. And when you have these additional green data elements in it, makes it a lot easier, and you can solve problems so that the amount of time that you spend on recons decreases every month that you do it. And then what our system does, our programmers have some standard, what they do is they input the data file, they map it to a program, and we have several different types of programs. It gives us the result, and it tells us what, you know, so it gives us in recon not listed at AmeriCollect, balance mismatched, balanced, will balance next time. I'll tell you a little bit about the will balance next time. That kind of goes back to the example where there was $75 paid on July 29th at AmeriCollect, and you reported a payment to us. So the next time we run it, we'll balance it. So we don't look at those. We know that we're going to balance next time. We have some recon programming that actually puts a counter. How many months in a row did we not balance? If it hits 2, then we review it because we think that some of the things might get kicked out. So we kind of create these that I don't want to spend my time looking at false positives all day long that next month I'm not going to have to look at. And it's a really cool, one of our lead programmers, Adam, he came up with the counter idea and the will balance next time, saying it's really foolish for us to have even somebody look at those will balance next time or until the counter gets 2. Now, we do it different for each client depending how constrained they want us to be about recons, but really cool stuff. Again, payments collected by the collection agency, we send you an electronic file. Some of the clients take a HIPAA 835 file that we populate for you, send it to you, you post it into your system. Really cool. One of the things that we're working on with, so let's say that you give us settlement authority, meaning that we're able to discount an account by 20%. Collectors on the phone, the consumers just doesn't have the full amount, and he asks, is there a discount? And some of our staff have this authority to say, yeah, we'll give you a 20% discount. Well, when we report that to you, we're now starting to populate in the 835 the amount of the adjustment so that you know that this was one of those accounts that we adjusted. So if you're interested in having 35 process include those kinds of settlement authorities, it's going to be pretty cool. We're really excited about doing that. And we should be, I would say, within about 30 days, we're going to have our first client that we're communicating with them in an automated process instead of sending a special Excel file. So lots of cool things. You know, the timing is everything is again. So on July 3rd, so for a lot of our clients, what we do is we take a snapshot at the end of the month of what our balance is at the end of the month. And let's say it takes our client, say, 10 days to actually apply the 835 file and maybe process our cancel return files. That's when they should take their snapshot. So you have a 10-day gap there in false positives. But if we know when you're taking your snapshot, some of our clients, what they do is they have their inventory files populate every day of the year. And when they finally finalize, you know, processing that 835 file that we sent you, then they send us that inventory file. So that's it. So have it generate 31 days of the month, and then send us the file for the monthly remittance after you've applied our payment. That way, that timing and that gap decreases. Never pull the recon inventory on the same day is really what it comes down to. We have moving parts, you have moving parts. So we've got to figure that out a little bit. So the steps, in my mind, is the provider must have posted all collection agency payments and returns for last month. Then they should take a snapshot of the inventory. the agency should take a snapshot at the end of the month for existing accounts listed and store that inventory. And that's typically what we do. This will decrease the false positives that you get. And again, as I mentioned, many of our clients will do an automated inventory. It's billed daily, and they just grab the file that when they finish processing our monthly remittance, our monthly cancel and return reports. It's an excellent way. So I always think that, this root cause thing is the tip of the iceberg. All of these payments and types are never getting reported to an agency. We see that happen every once in a while. Certain payment types don't get pulled into your report. Every payment on this day was not reported, or every account in this new business placement file on that date was not listed. So root cause, and the people that are working these files have to love that part of reconciliation. Again, sorry for going over here just about 6 minutes or so. Join us for another free webinar. This one, again, is on 501R4. That one's going to be Thursday, August 18th, 1 to 1:45. You can register here. Go to AmeriCollect.com and click on the Knowledge Center. That's probably the easiest place to go. Then there's another one on Thursday, August 25th. As many are not-for-profit healthcare systems having to follow 501R, I'm sure you're busy getting ready for the deadlines that you may have coming up for you. So those will be interesting. Our VP of Marketing, Sean Gretz, is going to be giving those webinars. I'm not going to be there. So thank you. Hey, I wanted to acknowledge our great team here. This is not for public acknowledgement, but we are now the 8th time in a year, 8 years in a row we've made Inc. 5000. So that's really exciting. We just found out about this shortly. We don't know where we ranked yet. We won't know that until I think they tell us in October or so. And of course, we're 7-time best places to work. That survey is going on now. Thank you for helping us figure out how to change how collection agencies are reviewed. We do it one phone call at a time, being ridiculously nice to your consumers. And I really like being nice to them and ridiculously nice to them with accurate balances. So I hope you help us out by getting a recon started. If you're interested, you can simply email me. It's kenlin@americollect.com. If you'd like a copy of that spreadsheet, as an example, shoot me an email, kenlin@americollect.com. Have a great rest of your summer. Thank you so much, Nick, and thank you, the rest of you.